I'm Jim Collison, and this is the Wellbeing at Work with CliftonStrengths podcast recorded on March 31st, 2022. In this CliftonStrengths podcast, we look at the strengths, insight, and action planning items from Appendix 1 in the Gallup book, Wellbeing at Work, one theme at a time. Today's theme is responsibility. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in our chat room. There's just a link right above me. Or if you have questions after the fact, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jacqueline Robinson is our host today. She works as a Gallup Learning and Development Consultant and was the primary contributor in Appendix 1 in the book, Wellbeing at Work. And Jacqueline, always great to see you. I think we're going to pull this off. Welcome back.
I think so. Likewise.
Let's jump right in, not tempt fate. We're talking about responsibility
Yes.
today. Can you give us that definition?
I sure can. So, those that lead with responsibility take psychological ownership of what they say they'll do. They are committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty.
With that, with responsibility, how does that relate to you and how might it relate to others?
Your natural ability to manage tasks and relationships with integrity and commitment has likely played a significant role in your success. So, external factors in the world might arise, but like an oak tree in the wind, you can remain rooted and unwavering. How it relates to others, regardless of the situation at hand, people can look to you and count on you to deliver.
Mm,
And this creates stability and a rock solid foundation for people.
mm. It's one of those themes I really lean into from
Mhm.
somebody else.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's
You can
30,
look to them and it's
yeah,
calm and they're collect and we got
33
this.
for me at the very bottom. Where is it for you?
It's mid. It's
Okay.
like high teens, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really enjoy the relationships that I have. And I'll call that out often because of all those dependability factors. I'll just let them
Mhm.
know, hey, in younger, even more important than when I got older. I think I've learned how to fake it a little bit more,
Yes.
or at least just delegate some of those things to others to make sure they get done. But a very, very important theme in this season. Well, they're all important, just to be honest. But
Mhm.
this season, we're talking about well-being with this, and so I'm interested to hear from you. What does it look like thriving, and what does it look like suffering?
Ooh, yes. So thriving is when you have found the ability to manage your work life and personal life without feeling overcommitted. And that is typically a very hard balance to achieve for someone high in responsibility. You might feel like this comes easier though when other people are, either equally committed to meeting their deliverables and upholding their word, or when they lean in and support you because they're cognizant of the amount of tasks or commitments that you have on your plate. Struggling tends to occur then when you feel overcommitted, and it makes it really difficult to meet your deliverables and deadlines
Mm,
with expediency. Doesn't mean you
mhm,
won't do it, but it might just feel like you're really burning that midnight oil. And this can then be amplified if you feel like you can't delegate out to your friends, family, or team because of their lack of reliability.
mm. I love that last kind of statement. When I feel like I can't, sometimes it's
Hmm.
not always you can't. It's just you feel
Yes.
like you can't, right? And it's that um, you lose hope when you feel like no matter what you're going to do, it's not going to change anything. And I think, or it's not going to get any better. And I think that's
Hmm.
particularly difficult for responsibility. Certainly, we have heard during the last couple years. We're recording this March of 2020. As we're thinking about the last 2022. Sorry,
Hmm.
I went back and maybe I was a Freudian slip. I went back
Don't
in
bring
time.
us back there. We're
Ah,
just coming out.
yikes. Well, let's move on as we're thinking about well-being in this during this time.
Hmm.
In Appendix 1, we think about each one of these elements of well-being with this theme. You've picked one to go through. Let's spend some time talking about that now.
I did. I chose physical well being. So, an accountability partner will motivate this person because they'll not want to let their partner down.
Mm,
Whether their goal is to lose weight or get more sleep, um, an accountability partner can encourage them to then really share that goal with a friend so they can support each other and check in on their progress.
mm. And I love doing that or thinking about that as one of those tricks to, hey, I
Hmm.
if I need to I need to get these things done. If I can get them on a list where
Mhm.
I have an accountability partner, then I don't want to let my responsibility feel bad, so I get them done. It's one of those things that I think works for may work for some. There's four other elements there as we think about this. Four other elements with responsibility. Great
Yep.
resource for coaches, embedded coaches, or just individuals looking to improve their overall well-being back there. Jacqueline, how can we use responsibility to support others?
So with responsibility, because there's that commitment to others, I flip this a little bit too, where it's also supporting the person with responsibility. So if you're a manager or you're leading a team, when you ask or observe what tasks team members achieve with enthusiasm and speed, you can feel more comfortable delegating out work to them. So this can help take work off of your plate and further their development and engagement levels. If you're on a team, others know they can count on you as the rock for the team. So when times are tough, you can encourage them to push through with your words or actions and really have that team goal achieved. And then even as an individual, if you can turn your commitment to others inward and
Mm.
commit to activities and interests that you love, your well-being can thrive. And although it can feel hard to do, if you think about it, taking care of yourself allows you to uphold your external commitments to others, and you're also role modeling that behavior for them of how valuable it is to take care of yourself.
Going back to what we talked about in the struggling, what does this look like struggling? I think this theme has that potential, the propensity to really take it on and not,
Mhm.
like you said, take care of yourself. You and I have
Mhm.
had some busy weeks the last couple weeks, and so we've spent a lot of time talking
Yes.
about like, hey, we've gotten to the end of the internet and we're like, oh, like what am I going to do
Yes.
now, right? And I think for those high in responsibility, I think with themselves have to be extra uh proactive in making sure they are doing some self-care,
Mhm.
right? They are
Very much so.
doing some things to take care of themselves. You talked about physical well-being, but that can also, in the areas of social, like
Mhm.
of maybe they need to go do some things outside of the four walls that they're
Yes.
in,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
That's, I think, so spot on. Just feeding yourself and getting that energy, and it goes back to putting the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can continue to support other people,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
can't do it if your bucket's empty and you're
Right, and you have
losing
no energy.
oxygen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, frantic. If you're just really, really struggling, it's hard to help others
Mhm.
when you yourself are in pain or in a state where it's not healthy. So,
Yes.
appreciate that. Put your own oxygen mask, on first. In Appendix 2, we have a framework that we work through for each one of these elements. Very simple framework. Jacqueline, can you walk us through that with responsibility?
Yes, and I'm glad you teased out social well-being because that's one I wanted to tackle specific to responsibility. So ask yourself, how am I modeling social well-being to my team? If you want your team to do more than just work, 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 you also have to role model it, or they'll just maybe take after you and go, well, you're burning the midnight oil, 12 hours a day. Why can't I?
Mm, mm,
Ask your team members, how do we show our support for each other's well being? And take action. At the end of the day, pause and celebrate your accomplishments,
mm,
as opposed to just thinking about everything that you've taken ownership for. Have you taken a pause just to celebrate
mm.
everything that you've gotten done?
I think for managers that have high responsibility, either, well, in themselves, but mostly on their team, of thinking about, and again, all themes need to be recognized. But I
Hmm.
think if you want to add fuel to the fire for
Hmm.
those with responsibility, I do think it's important. I think they'll tell you sometimes I don't need it, but they do.
Hmm.
Like we all need it, right? Don't
Yes.
don't let that don't believe that, because everybody needs recognition. And I think this is in one of those, when getting things accomplished,
Hmm.
really important. And of course, you want to ask them, to be honest. You want to ask them, like, how do you like to be recognized? But in some of these areas, I think this is key. Get them recognized, because that's like for an achiever, it's like, how you check it off. I think for a lot of folks who have high responsibility, having those milestones recognized, even if it's just saying it's done, right?
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
kind of
Yes.
fills that kind of fills I don't know, what else would you add?
I
Would you
love
add to
that.
that?
Yeah, I really do. I love that piece of just, yeah, okay, I've come a long ways. And maybe that will also help you recognize you've achieved a lot in the day already. You've
Yeah,
committed to and can check the box on a lot of what you've said you would do for
yeah,
other people. Now you can take some of that time for yourself.
yeah,
And I heard one person with responsibility say, I learned that I had to recognize it's not just a responsibility to the workplace, but once I turn off, I have a responsibility to my family and to myself. And
yeah.
that was their way of quieting that guilty whisper in their head.
I like it. I think with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available around responsibility and Gallup Access. Head out to gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Log in. If you go to the resources page and just put in responsibility, you'll see everything we have, including these episodes. We're putting them in Gallup Access as well. And you can get them. You can get them there. Gallup.com/CliftonStrengths for coaching, master coaching, or become a Gallup certified strengths coach. Send us an email coaching@gallup.com. Somebody will get back with you and help you on that journey to get that done. You can join us on any social platform just by searching Clifton Strengths. Got a couple groups on YouTube or on Facebook that very active conversations if you want to join us there as well. And we want to thank you for joining us today. If you're listening live, thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to do a quick mid show, go into the next episode. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.